Hey guys, before I begin, I just wanted to let you know that we are actively recruiting for ESO and looking for members willing to lead a lore seeker guild on each system, be it PC, Xbox, or PS4. Even if you just want to come grab some games with me on PC, join our Discord server and shoot me a message. I'll put my handle in the invite description below. But if you're interested in ESO, War of the Warcraft, or any other title that strikes your fancy, I urge you to join us, the Lore Seekers. You get to discuss lore and game with like-minded people ready to explore new worlds. Now, without any more delay, let's hop into the video. Welcome back, Lore Seekers and Scroll Keepers. Welcome to Nirn, the beautiful and massively wondrous planet that occupies all manner of mystery and intrigue. To be an explorer here during the times of the Fourth Era, when elvish arms and human desperation clash, where dragons live and the ash of the Red Mountain claims all, where we set out on the monumental task to understand it all. It's much like taking a deep breath in. Imagine that the knowledge you seek must be consumed and then expunged and then consumed again. This is how we will learn, by first taking everything around us in and having it all rush out in the air of discussion and discourse, only to be taken back in. I implore you, scribes, college magi, seekers, any and all, to discover, delve, and imagine like you never have before. As the 9 divines, or 8, depending on your current, let's say, political allegiance, are such wondrously delightful deities, both perplexing and loving, as they are worshipped in some ways, under different names or otherwise, by all races that occupy Nirn. Provided now is the imperial version of these gods, as the empire of man has spread to every corner of Nirn, at least of Tamriel, and their vision of the 9 has as well. It's also the most prevalent version of information and should be utilized in the scholar's humble opinion. To best explain, we will dive deeply into their rich history, the effect they have had on all of us, and of course, the signs they present to us each day to live rich, loving, and courageous lives. Originally, there were only 8 divines, and while many still argue that there are, especially with the sensitivity, I should say, of the White Gold Concordat, depending on your residence, you are legally required to only worship 8. To some, especially those in the Empire and the remaining Loyalist realms, there are 9 divines, Talos, or Tiber Septim, being the 9th for his actions during the Second Era. Talos is an excellent place to start, as his ascension to godhood is a particularly unique story, or a grand fabrication, according to those of the Elvish supremacist group, the Aldmeri Dominion, and the Thalmor that lead them. Tiber Septim's journey to godhood started as a mere mortal in the Second Era, during the time of war and chaos. The Empire of Man was no more a struggling state situated at the center province of Tamriel called Cyrodiil. From there, the details of Tiber's ambition to unite the conflicted provinces of Tamriel span into legend. Tiber Septim is historically the only individual to unite Tamriel and create the empire of old, not the disunified and defeated empire of this Fourth Era. It is said he was granted godhood by the other 8 divines when he defeated all those who had opposed him under Tamriel, under one family and house, and he brought peace to a land far in need of his stewardship. Now, regardless of what you believe, the imperial cult was founded in his name and honor, to shepherd those who are willing to become questing knights or heroes, or otherwise brave, unsurpassable feats for those unable or unwilling. As the god of mankind, war, and governance, Tiber Septim, or the great Talos, watches over his faithful, those who seek glory through bravery and righteousness and directly support the fabled Dragonborn. As a side note, it should be noted that in Nordic history that Talos is Ysmir, the great dragon of the north, and that they are considered the same individual. And many a Nord would take great pride arguing that the imperial version is but a dim lamp when compared to the grand beacon of the tale of Ysmir the dragon. At another time, when the subject matter requires it, we will delve deeper into the banning of worship for humanity's patron deity, but for now, let us continue the discussion of the remaining 8 divines. Firstly, there is Akatosh, the great divine of time and the most powerful leader of the other 7 gods. Akatosh is also one of 2 deities that is shared across many other religions due to his formation of time and the general nature of, quote, being at the before the beginning, unquote. The natural state of godhood and the reality of their planes of existence beyond this one are difficult for our mortal minds to contemplate. Imagine, for a moment, if the great sea that separates Tamriel from the other continents is identical to the space between planets. Now, inside this sea, as it would be inside that space, are wondrous mysteries, deep caverns of limitless possibilities, all tucked away under deep sands and rocky coral. These deep locations, hidden in between vast spaces, are realms in which our gods resides, sometimes like the Daedra realms of Oblivion, in spaces shaped by their own will and desire. Now, as a chief deity, Akatosh often resembles a dragon, one of the most powerful beings in existence, or at least once when they lived, to ever walk our mortal realms. With a chapel dedicated to his reverence located in the rebuilt Kvatch, Akatosh embodies invincibility, endurance, and everlasting ability, and is the head of our divine pantheon. Arkay, the great god of cycles, birth and death, and the glorious circle we exist within, we call life. Arkay is often denoted as being a god that is closely tied to funerals and the seasons, and is often found relevant in other cultures, not just the Cyrodiilic Imperials. Some cultures even place his importance ahead of Akatosh due to the difficulty of comprehending time and the non-mortal realms that exist in the space between our reality and the will of the gods. Now, priests of Arkay staunchly oppose necromancy and the dark arts associated with such vile and base actions. Many practitioners of conjuration, especially those that were experienced from the former Mages Guild, often fall victim to this. After the Oblivion crisis, many believed the usage of magic and the appearance of those dread gates shared a common heritage or influence with the Mages Guild. But it should be noted that only necromancers and not all conjurers are enemies of Arkay. As Arkay represents the balance between life and death, the true cycle of all things, many of his followers worship all aspects of life from all races, as they are representing, in a way, the glory of Arkay. Now, with Dibella, the goddess of love and art, and perhaps emotional experience, we are gifted our ability to feel, to enjoy the base needs situated within us all, and to experience the joy in the company of others. Although Dibella has numerous cults associated with her, some celebrating masterworks of art or dance or song or theater, others celebrating the couple of 2 lovers, and others still celebrating the love nature has for its bees and its rivers. She is perhaps one of the most popular gods across all Tamriel. Strangely enough, Dibella's places of worship are not simple temples, but rather houses. When you enter a place of holy worship in the name of the goddess of beauty, you are greeted typically by beautiful women or strikingly handsome men, regardless of race. All that teach the word of Dibella tend to be noted as distinguishingly attractive in their own way. Perhaps At least in one way, this is what Dibella's followers aspire to be considered so lovely that they may lead their own house in her name, as certainly those who are born with recognizable beauty are surely the rightful children of the goddess of natural and pure visage. Dibella's houses have also noted as a sort of popularity contests, gold scams, and homes for swindlers due to the house's natural need for attractive bodies and gold to fuel their representation and questionable worship style. Regardless of what is true in any house of worship, Dibella serves as the goddess of love, emotion, and a patron of artists and lovers. But as in all virtues, there is one god that is particularly loved by those who favor intelligence and wisdom. The mages and thinkers, the inventors and the quizzical testers alike, they all share the same boon by walking in the light shunned by Julianos, as you may have guessed already, the god of wisdom and knowledge. Those that keep to the Elder Scrolls in the heart of the Imperial City Tower, the Ancestral Moss, are known to be favored by Julianos as a natural connection to their daily activity in interpreting the will of the gods massed in scrolls. Logic, mathematics, the various scholarly arts are all seen as blessed traditions by followers of the god of reason, wisdom, and intelligence. And while many mages or would-be historians fall into this category, few truly bask in the eternal glory that is the presence of a god such as Julianos. The gods of air, winds, the heavens, and more. Kynareth. And while she is interpreted as a different deity depending on the regional culture that has the opportunity to give their people a place of worship. For example, the Nords, in the frozen harshness they call Skyrim, refer to Kynareth not as a god of winds or heavens, but as a direct spirit god, literally taking the heavens aspect of the Cyrodiilic regional version and amplifying it to focus their god on the spirits within all things, particularly that of animals and nature. She is also the first to gift the Lord's Mail, a legendary piece of armor seen throughout the ages through different users that are selected by Kynareth through only great actions of direct patronage to her. While many may disagree on the formation of the mortal plane and how exactly it came about, Kynareth was argued to be the first to agree with Lorkhan to create such a plane for us mortals to dwell, which in turn caused the creation of the Aedra and Daedra. More on those definitions, if you can even call them that, later. The goddess of heaven, spirits, and air is a mysterious one to be sure. But as with most gods and the goddesses of the Nine, Kynareth is revered as the goddess of daily good fortune, beckoning those who would need luck to join her temples and give her praise. Mara, the goddess of love and the mother of all things, is one of the more unique in the pantheon of the Nine, as she is directly tied with an emotion or characteristic embodied by the creatures of Nirn. Regardless of which religion you may follow or study, as they do have their specific differences for Mara, many believe her to be the goddess of fertility and the creator of life, a lover of many things and a powerful ally to those who believe in the good fortune of companionship and its deliverance for the heart. There are some who attribute Mara to be a concubine goddess of Lorkhan and Akatosh, or married to each of them depending on your regional depictions, but typically all regional religions showcase Mara as the goddess of fertility and creation. Next, there is Stendarr, the god of righteousness and might, shown to be merciful and the ideal leader of rulers. The patron saint of the imperial legions and those that follow the law of the land, regardless of the region. If you ever find yourself in Cyrodiil, the main imperial home province of Tamriel, I recommend a visit to the chapel in Stendarr's name in coral. Now, it's quite the sight, and the citizens there tend to harbor a unique appreciation for peace, only secured by a competent regiment of fair guards and constables. In Skyrim, and in many other areas, there are certain bands of crusaders, simply calling themselves the Vigilants of Stendarr, with a singular but appropriate goal: the removal of the unholy that walk upon the lands of mortals. Vampires, werebeasts, the Daedra minions of all shapes are the main foe of any vigilant, and while their ability in combat is oftentimes outmatched by their sheer ferocity of the evil they face, many vigilants believe that Stendarr will provide them divine protection, guiding their hands and movements to swift victory. Now, regardless of what you believe, Stendarr's mercy extends to all that occupy Tamriel, and perhaps even beyond. Should you find yourself facing down a vampire and its thralls, or any variation of Demora, pray thee that Stendarr grants you his mercy, for your foes will offer you none. The final god, but certainly not the least, is Zenithar, and he is attributed to being the god that will always win. Typically, many describe Zenithar as the god of commerce, wealth, and individual ambition to attain glory through estate ownership and the production of trade goods, rather than bloodshed or war. He is the patron god of hard work, to the lowliest iron miner to the highest of imperial counts or landowners. Zenithar provides for those who work tirelessly for what they wish to attain: wealth. Whether it be material wealth or wealth of spirit, the god of luck, the god of work will see the sweat on your brow, the ache in your back as prayer to him, as there is no greater prayer than that of action, of thought alone. Zenithar's places of worship are called resolutions. As he was resolute in the dedication to his craft of godhood, so should his disciples be in worship. Although the god of commerce and work, many more militant do worship, especially that of mercenaries, who take the tenets of Zenithar as more or less outlines, rather than strictures to be followed to the letter. As thus, many mercenaries believe that, due to their hard work, Zenithar provides them perfection and protection through their homage of the sword. Regardless of what remains true, many attribute their luck of the craft as the direct divine will of their patron god of work, Zenithar. Together, these gods, commonly called Aedra, make up the 9 divines of the imperial pantheon that is the most common and widespread. While the names of specific details of these gods have changed over time from ruling power or culture that remains dominant, their tenets and their will over the mortal plane has not. These Aedra were there at the beginning of the formation of the mortal plane, and will most likely be there after we have passed, direct opponents to the Daedra, those vile beings who choose to retain their power at the creation of the mortal plane. The Aedra now watch over all mortals, all spirits, all beings in the plane above. Bow to them, worship them, or defy them at your leisure. Nirn has shown that the gods above, the gods below, and the gods around us are real, and their will should at least be respected, if not appreciated. We live in a world dominated by wondrous beings, beings of mysticism and unexplainable power. Should we ever be so lucky to contact any one of them, revel in your victory, for you are only a few that should ever be so touched. More on Nirn, Tamriel, and the current political nature of things in this wondrous world with a full history in my next report.